It's 4:12 in the morning, and I woke up. Maybe I didn't wake up. I've been laying there in the bed for around 30 minutes. My spirit is troubled within me. Um, and it's at the, hello, Brian. I need to put on a better pair of glasses. It's troubled at the aspect of war. Is what it is, because this is very serious. What is taking place in the world, it is, and just the mere thought of knowing that Russia has called men up from age 18 to 60, it should send alarm bells out, because what's happening over there can happen over here and can happen in any country. Yeah, I'm not a person who is a fearful person, but I have a spirit within me, and my spirit is troubled. It is unsettled, and I'm feeling it from the spiritual realm itself. I am. And I know that there's a lot of other people who are feeling it. Can you hear me? Look at this. The exact number of people who have left Russia since President Vladimir Putin announced what he called a partial mobilization last Wednesday is unclear, but signs are emerging of a significant exodus. They're fleeing the country, and there's talk of even shutting down the borders so the young men cannot get out, the young men and old men, age 18 to 60. There's talk of shutting down the borders. And if you think about this, it's like you have the majority of humanity does not want to go to war against humanity. Could you imagine you all on here, everybody watching this, being forced to go to war against somebody else on here in another country, a war that you do not support, that you do not want? You do not want to be forced to go battle against people you don't even know, people who have done you no harm. On the flip side, there are those who want to do it. Oh, they can't wait to do it because they're hell bent on evil. Okay, they are. And I was thinking about this, you all. Hello, good morning, you all. I'm not fearful or anything like that. My spirit is deeply troubled within my being. It's unsettled in the spiritual realm. So even though they've done a partial mobilization of up to 300,000 troops, see, that was 13 minutes ago. What's happening on Russia's borders since he's called this up? And they don't want to, it has been rumored that the majority of those mobilized will be outside of Russia's heartland region of Moscow and Petersburg, so as to reduce the political risk to the Kremlin. It's a war that the people don't want. Okay. And I was thinking about that. How could you explain what's going on? How could you put it in a layman's terms, in a way that people could understand? As I was laying there, and it's like two gangs. You may even have 3 gangs. We have, every country has gangs in them, powerful gangs like mafias and stuff. And fighting breaks out between these 2 gangs or 3 gangs for control of the cities, control of the provinces. And it's just these gangs, but they're fighting for turf. It's not the majority of the people, it's only these gangs. But the majority of the people, they're in the crosshairs. And in essence, when gangs fight for territories, they own that territory. They own the people in that territory. They own the businesses in that territory. Um, they operate behind the scenes, everything behind the scenes. And the majority of the people may be unaware of that's what takes place. But it's like gangs fighting for control and property. But what we're facing here, this is on a global, a worldwide scale, fighting for control of territory and people. See, this is the other part. People, the people who are fleeing in Russia, it's like if you put yourself in their position, if you can, they're being forced to do something against their will. It is really kind of like you're a slave. Even though you are not for it, you don't want to go to war, but you are being forced. And it reminds me of this phrase, you were bought at a price. You were paid for at a price. It's like if you live, like even in the United States, even in your own country, just like Russia, if there is a draft, there it's a mandatory, even in China, mandatory. And if they call their people up, you will either go, and there's even rumors in a certain, hello, Deborah, honey, there's even rumors that people in you know where, the opposite region, because of someone else taking power in that region, gave the orders if people were seen leaving, shoot them, kill them, because they did not want to fight. And really, you're put, I'm putting this like in gang-like term, you're being forced into a gang, fighting for a gang that you may not even agree with at all, you all. You may not agree with them. Chances are you don't, and you don't want to fight their war. But because you're in their territory and they're like a mafia thing, you're being forced. You do it or you're dead. It's as simple as that. Or you're locked up. It is as if when something like this happens, your hands are tied. It really is. So what do? You all? This is serious. My spirit is troubled within me because of the war. I have never liked war. Ever since I've been on this earth, I have never old enough to even have knowledge of it, to comprehend and understand the effects of it. I've never liked it. I have not, because it destroys people's lives. It destroys humanity. And I know there's a time for war and a time for peace. Deborah, honey, hello. I know. You don't understand war because it's not within your being to want to go at war. We want to live in peace. We want to live in peace and harmony. Um, and look at this. In Sweden, look at this. At 4:21, mystery gas leak hits Russian undersea pipes to Europe. European countries are investigating unexplained leaks in 2 Russian gas pipelines running under the Baltic Sea near Sweden and Denmark this morning. The infrastructure has been at the heart of an energy crisis since Russia's invasion of Ukraine. Sweden's Maritime Authority issued a warning about 2 leaks in the Nord Stream 1 pipeline shortly after a leak of the nearby Nord Stream 2 pipeline was discovered that had prompted Denmark to restrict shipping in a 5 nautical mile radius. Neither pipeline was pumping gas to Europe at the time the leaks were found amid the dispute over this war, but both still contain gas under pressure. The incidents will hinder any effort to start or restart either pipeline for commercial operations. There is a strategic war taking place, and it's hitting all areas, strategic points. So that's in the Baltic Sea. There's people who may think there's nothing going to happen. There's nothing going to happen at all. You're just warmongering, you're fear-mongering. You go ahead and say what you want to say. You go ahead and stick your head in that sand. And as I said in a previous video, you're not going to see nothing, and you're liable going to suffocate by sticking your head in the sand. And you're going to have to come up for air one time. Sometime you're going to have to come up for oxygen to breathe. Okay, you are. Um, 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 Sometimes this happens. It's rare. You seem troubled, but you could do a little dance. There's a time to dance and a time to be still. This is a time to be still. My spirit is speaking to me, and I'm listening. I am. Um, that's right. Mindy, you get it. War as an excuse. Super Dave. Yeah. There is a war on humanity. There is. And some people call this war a battle against good and evil. You're fighting battles for power heads. You are power heads. You're being used as pawns. You are. And if you don't agree with the cause, it's going to be very hard if you're one of those people who are forced into mandatory conscription. If you do not agree with fighting your fellow brothers and sisters, even though they're in other countries, spiritually speaking, because they're human like you, humanity, and your spirit doesn't like war, it's going to be very difficult to even want to stand and join a cause that you don't agree with. It is. It's like going against your morals within your being. And then you have things that say, obey the laws of the land. There are those who are being forced into the draft. You're being forced. When it's mandatory, it's forced onto you. Here in the United States with the draft, if there ever was a draft, um, you can refuse to go. You can file an exemption, and you will go before a draft board, and as a conscientious objector. And some people use college. They used to use college. Some people say, well, they can't draft your only son. Yes, they can. They can. They don't draft women as of now, but there are some Democrats in Congress who want to push that straight through, and they've been trying to for years. They want to push through the drafting of women also. They do, for equality. You want equality? Then let's draft the women. Let's let the women be drafted when the men are drafted. That do not be surprised if there is a military draft in the United States that you do not see Women draft under the guise of equality. And I'm serious because it's already out there. They ain't voted on it. It's been in the shadows. It's already been drawn up. It's been put forward several times. It's not made it too far, but it's there. It's there. Um, Mocking the world will still keep spinning, mucking. Whatever happens, maintain your moral integrity. Um, Deb, honey, I know, but my spirit is troubled. What's happening on the borders? The first mass mobilization since World War II, calling up troops for its war. It's triggered a rush to the border, causing concern in neighboring nations. Long queues have been seen crossing out into bordering links of a huge nation. Um, Russia, look, two newspapers based outside of Russia have reported the target is to mobilize at least 1 million, and there has been anger as many who have not served in the forces or are outside of the drafting age have already been called to fight. It's been rumored that the majority of those mobilized will be outside Russia's heartland of Moscow and St. Petersburg to reduce the political risk to the Kremlin. Um, it's a significant exodus. They have referendums in the final day in the parts of Ukraine. Um, there's been um, there's been tweets that some officials in the Ukraine have literally been forced to sign something. You know how they forced them? They beat them. They beat them and forced them to sign. There are gangs in inner cities. There's gangs in countries and stuff like that. There is, and I think it's absolutely horrible that humanity has gangs on a small scale and a very large scale, and people are forced. They, I think it's horrible. Looking at it from a humanitarian point of view, it's absolutely horrible to do that. But it happens, you all. It does. And this may seem a little sensitive. You may say, Gina, you are just way out there. No, I'm not. I'm quite in touch with reality. Thank you. Extremely in touch with reality. Um, Somebody got shrapnel in their leg, a mortal shell, and could have went home, but wanted to go out to fight. See, that's the other case. If you want to go out and continue, see, that's a different story. That is, there are people who want to fight the good fight in order to defeat the evil. There are. There is a battle of good and evil. If you look at it from a spiritual point of view, purely spiritual, good versus evil, light versus darkness. Do you join the forces of darkness because you're like minded like them? Or do you join the forces of light because you're like minded like the light? Or do you stand on the sideline and do nothing? That's probably going to be your choice. You'll have choices. Ciao, young cat. You will hear of wars and rumors of wars. Yes, that you are not alarmed. That's what it says in Matthew 24, because nation will rise against nation, kingdom against kingdom, but the end is yet to come. And then it says, let those in Judea flee to the rooftops. Let no one go down to take anything out, for then there will be a time of distress, unequaled from the beginning of the world, never to be equaled again. And if those days had not been cut short, no one would survive except for the elect. Those days will be shortened. So when they say, here he is, there he is, do not believe it. For as lightning comes from the east, So will they see the Son of Man coming on the clouds with power and great glory. Immediately after the tribulation of those days, the sun will be darkened, the moon will not give its light, the heavenly bodies will fall from the sky, and then you'll see the sign of the Son of Man coming in the clouds with power and great glory, and he will gather his elect from the four corners, the four winds of the earth. And then you know what comes after that. Then comes that battle of the Armageddon. That's Matthew 24, not word from word. Um, You need prayer. You need to feel peace. And we all need to pray inside of here, you all. We really need that peace in here. My spirit, even though my spirit is troubled, my spirit is at peace. It's just raised the level, alert level of awareness within it. It's time to wake up. It is time to wake up, you all. It is. Let's see. Um, Oh, I'm not worried about myself. I'm not at all. Um, I I put others before myself. I do, just like a lot of people. You put others before yourself, and you probably do worry for humanity as a whole. If you love people, then people mean a great deal for you, and you want everyone to be okay. You do. You don't want to see people fall on hard times. Look at this, you all. They're talking about the look. And no, he's not bluffing. He's not bluffing at all. Look, the Black Sea, if you use some kind of weapons, of course, we got the option of responding. We got conventional, huge power that could be visited upon you. If I was one of the Black Sea Fleet, isn't this strange? You have the Black Sea Fleet. You have the Black Fleet in the Lord of the Rings at the present moment. And I would not go to bed at night in my bunk very calmly at night. It's quite possible we could sink the complete fleet if we chose to. Lord Donat said Putin will likely claim people spoken with their own voices. He added, Mr. Putin probably could not be forced out of power. It's not a bluff, says the former president, Dmitry Medvedev. It's not a bluff. The one thing is, you all, what do we got? Chinese vessels and 3 Russian vessels were sighted by the Bering Sea in a single formation from the islands by the U.S. Coast Guard. Honolulu-based vessel monitored the ships before they broke their formation. Hercules C-130, Kodiak. NATO is also doing drills, you all. They're doing drills. The NATO nations are. Look at the lines of vehicles and stuff. Zelensky says, look, they're looking in the problem at Nord Stream 1, and now they got the Nord Stream 2 pipeline. I'm not going to play any videos, but the young men are fleeing. They don't want to go to war. They don't. Just so it's age 18 through 60. The Kremlin, 13 hours ago, they say no decision taken on whether to seal the borders and lock the people in. Military age men fleeing the country amid a partial mobilization. Look, at the moment, no decisions have been taken on this. Reports of the border possibly being closed, have only contributed to further turmoil. Hundreds of thousands of reservists were trying to for the war. There was also, lines of cars. We don't want to hear about him, you all. lines of cars, you all. There is also reports of people torching the drafting stations in Russia. They're burning them, is what they're doing too. You would probably see something like that if it were to happen over here. People would be in outrage. They would. Do you want to send your Do you want to send your sons and your daughters to war? I don't. I don't. I don't want to enter the day. I don't want to see the day when that happens. I don't. It's not going to be a very peaceful day in America or any country when a military draft is implemented or a conscription. It's not peaceful. It's not peaceful to the families. It tears the families apart. And in some instances, it draws them together. But the pain that is felt from the separation is horrendous. Horrendous, you all. I'm not understating it. I'm not. It is horrendous. If you see your young children being sent off to war, it's going to be very painful and it's going to be very hurtful. You may say, Gina, why are you talking like that? Because that is the effects of a war, um, whether it's forced upon you or not. It has a human side effect, and you're going to feel it. I feel it for the people over there um, whose families are literally broken now. They're broken. They broke the families. Um, uh, there's a war in us, and there's going to be a war upon us. Actually, there is a war upon us being waged in the spiritual realm, and it literally now is manifesting in the physical realm, and it has been for a few years. A war is being waged on humanity by forces unseen. Spiritually speaking, you may see some of the forces, but it's being waged upon humanity. Um, there are those who cannot see it at all. There are those who refuse to see it. There are those who refuse to see the war that is literally happening all around. There are those who cannot physically or spiritually see it. Their eyes are blinded to it. Their conscience cannot even pick it up on their radar. Their conscience cannot pick up this war on their radar. They're totally unaware that it's happening. Oh, well. So, they got dangerous leaks in their gas lines in Russia. The gas that supplies Europe and stuff, and Sweden and all Denmark, all this stuff you're going to see. Remember that article we did? How they said, what country was it? Was it the Switzerland country? If you turned your thermostats up above 19 degrees, was it Fahrenheit or Celsius, that you would be fined and or put in jail. And when asked about that, they said, well, we don't have a shortage or a crisis right now on the gas, the gas lines or the energy. So there is no fines and there is none, they said, right now. But they further elaborated once it's coming up for vote. I think it is coming up for vote. It probably already came up for vote. If they did have to do it, then they would do it. They said, oh, well, there's no way to do locking people up or sending fines. Yes, it is. You got smart meters. Okay, you can. And you can shut off their electricity with a smart meter. You can. So there's so much going on, you all. I mean, I feel better getting this off my chest, speaking about it, that my spirit was troubled and I had to speak. I had to get up out of that bed and come on here and say something so my spirit would be at rest within my being. You may sense it too. You may sense something extremely major happening behind the scenes um, because it is happening. And it's growing, it's getting bigger, it's growing in size. This energy, this darkness is growing in size. But you got to still let your light shine on the inside of here. You can be aware You can see it, and that awareness should help you prepare inside of here. It should. If you're a spiritual person, prepare inside of here, and perhaps physically if you need to. Just your mindset. It really takes a strong mind and a strong heart. It does, to face troubled times, and it takes unity, because you don't want to face it alone. You don't want to face anything alone. And if you are forced, if we ever do see that day where the men in this country, 18 to 60, and then they decide they want to include the women for equality and equity or whatever it is, then you're going to have to be really strong inside of here and up here. We're going to really need each other more than ever, you all. There's people who have already, banded together. There's strength. We need to strengthen our communities and strengthen our online communities. We need a support hub. We do. We need to know that we're going to be there for one another, that we're not facing it alone. Because when you're troubled, you want to be able to reach out to like-minded individuals for encouragement. You do. Somebody said, Gina, I'm still waiting for you to say something nice. They said that in a video recently. They implied that I never say nothing nice and I never say nothing encouraging. Well, that's just you, because you don't want to even open your ears. You hear, but you don't listen. There's a difference between hearing and listening, and letting it sink in. So yeah, I am an encouraging person, but I want to raise awareness. Do I want people to give up? No, don't you dare give up. No matter what comes your way, don't give up. You fight the good fight, wherever that fight may lead you. Fight the good fight, stand your ground. Don't give up. You can maintain your integrity within you. You can, right inside of here. Maintain that integrity. God knows your heart. He does. Some people say that God is neither male nor female. Okay. The source of all living things that is good, love, the supreme source, where that love comes from, it knows your heart. It can read your heart, the energy that's inside of here. I'm going to go. I am. But my spirit was troubled within me. I could not get it out of my mind. And I likened it to, you live in a town, you live in a city, you have two gangs fighting against one another for territory. But we've got it on a massive worldwide scale in certain quadrants of the world, battling for control. One is good, one is evil, one is playing good, pretending to be good, but it's actually evil. And one is pretending to be good, but it's actually evil too, just a little worse evil, you all. It's all, it's, uh, it's mind-boggling. It is. I'm going to go. I'm done. Thank you for tuning in so early in the morning. And with that being said, hello, wherever you are in any part of the world. Hello. From my heart to yours, love you. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Someone said, why do you always end your videos with that? Because I want to. That's why. Have a have a wonderful rest of your morning, you all. Thank you, Deborah, honey, for being on here. The things people say, you all, it really is, it makes me laugh. Love you.